Ben Fagan here with another episode of Career Cash the Podcast, and on this episode, I'm joined by Senior Data Analyst at Stack Overflow, David Gibson. David and I talk about how to be intentional with your job search process, how to create opportunities for you to gain experience, and why it is so important for you to ask for what you want. It's an awesome conversation. Let's get to it. David, welcome. I appreciate you coming on, and I'm excited to get the chance to talk with you a little bit and break down what you do on a daily basis. So welcome, my friend.
Yeah, super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. So let's talk Senior Data Analyst at Stack Overflow. Tell me, if I'm not in that industry, and I'm not, tell me what that is. What do you kind of do on a daily basis? What are your responsibilities in that position?
Yeah, so as a data analyst, I sit on the marketing team. So I'm in charge of a lot of the reporting side of things. So what marketing campaigns are doing well, what's doing poorly, just analyzing like web traffic to our website. And that's more of like the analyst side of things. And then I do a lot of data science work as well, which would be who are our most valuable customers and like predicting how long they're going to be retained for. So like retention is a big part of any business, especially like software businesses. So we want to predict early retention and like acquire as many high retaining users. So I've worked with like different LTV models and forecasting models to like predict how much advertising spend we should allocate to each channel. So that's like the other half of it. And then I do some like engineering type work. So like programming just to maintain some of these reports and automation.
Awesome. I love that stuff. So, sounds
Yeah.
cool. Sounds like you're kind of involved in, a few different things. So jumping back to Lynn, your time at Lynn, kind of getting into this field, into this realm. I know you did a few things between, while you're at Lynn and then in between this point. So can you kind of fill in those gaps from your time at Lynn, kind of when you graduated and how you kind of navigated towards the position that you're in right now?
Yeah, definitely. So at Lynn, I went in not knowing what I wanted to do. I started as like a film major, then I switched to like communications, then I switched to like entrepreneurship, and then I finally landed on marketing. But the kind of like aha moment for me was I took one of like Joe Ingles Excel classes, and I was like the only one who actually was having fun in it. So that was like kind of like kickstarted like, hey, what kind of like roles are within the realm of like data and analytics. And then I started leaning towards like finance, but then Lynn actually had a short partnership with General Assembly, which was like a coding boot camp. I wasn't able to go to it, but that's where I found out about this like quote data scientist position. So it's like the conversions of like math, statistics, programming, and like business knowledge. And that like really intrigued me. So once I found out about that, I kind of like created my own roadmap to become work in data science. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do any more courses at Lynn just because it was kind of still like an early field. And I think Lynn now has a data analyst course or major, so that's great. But at the time we didn't. So I had to do a lot of online boot camps. So I started with a data analyst boot camp, and then I did like a full-fledged data science boot camp, and that really helped. And also I was, I don't know if this is still at Lynn, but I was doing the WinCode courses. So that helped like get like the programming foundation, but I did a lot of like coursework outside of Lynn that I got no credit for.
So was that the coursework outside of Lynn, was that kind of like independently, internally driven, or what was the motivation?
Yeah. Well, so I knew I wasn't going to be qualified for any analyst position or data science position, definitely not data science position, just because a lot of times they come um, from a technical degree. If you're a new grad, it's usually like a technical degree, like a math degree, a computer science degree, or some sort of engineering degree. And Lynn didn't have that, and I wasn't able to transfer. So I knew I had to do everything on top of that. And I realized that the marketing degree was like perfect to pair with that, because a lot of times you have analysts or data scientists, they're like super smart people, but they don't have that domain experience or expertise. So they can like create all these different algorithms and like they know all this math behind the algorithms, but they don't know how to apply it to like the business. So I really focused on like bridging the gap, like from marketing to data science. So I was like this domain expert who knew how to do data science. And that's kind of like what I've been doing ever since graduation.
So if I'm interested in the data science field, like you said, as Lynn's continuing to grow, or whatever school you're at is continuing to grow, where can I look to find these different opportunities outside of what I'm doing in the classroom, to help further my career, kind of like you did?
Yeah, I would say just if you're interested in like data science or even just like programming, just getting your hands dirty like with data or like rebuilding websites. Because like I approached the Office of Admissions and said I knew they had a bunch of data on like the students, and I just wanted to like try to help out. So I took their survey data that they send to all incoming students, and I analyzed it for like identify trends. So that was like a position that I kind of established myself, and they found that very useful, and just like getting your hands dirty on something. And those are the best things to talk about in interviews, because you started with a problem and you worked all the way through it. So like if you're interested in like web development, just like approaching like a small business or just saying like, hey, can I build your website? Even if it's like you're not that great yet, it's still a free website for them. So um, and even if they don't use it, you can still talk about it in their resume. People don't always check that.
No, exactly. And that was something that I did, when I got into the filming and editing more, kind of getting started building my portfolio. Because coming out of school, I just had, I had to start with what I had. And I'm a big, big believer in that. And
Yeah,
what I did to, in order to get hired, I needed to have a body of work. And so I'd approach, these different businesses saying, hey, I'll do it for free. And it's a win-win. They get a free video, whether they use it, they like it, whatever, who cares?
exactly.
You get better at it, and then you also have that stuff to kind of throw in your portfolio, throw on your resume. And it's, like you said,
Yeah,
like now I could say, oh, I worked, with this business, and so
yeah.
it helps with that. So going into, can you dive a little bit deeper into your personal roadmap to kind of get into data sciences and that whole process, working through when you kind of discovered you had that aha moment,
Mhm.
working through what that roadmap looks like from college to now, and then where you're looking to go moving forward?
Yeah, definitely. So I identified early on that I was going to have a big skills gap, because I was coming from a non-technical degree and there wasn't like specific coursework for that. So I I knew I was going to be at a disadvantage in that case. But like I was mentioning, the my approach was really just to be very deliberate in the type of roles I was going after. So every role I was applying to was marketing specific. So maybe not a marketing analyst, because they might do more like Google Analytics stuff, but like a marketing data analyst or a data analyst on the marketing team, or a marketing data scientist. So I was just like very focused on the type of role I was going after. And that helped me a lot, because during interviews, I could talk about like how my marketing degree and combined with the data science work. So that was kind of like my plan of attack essentially. And then it was like pretty discouraging trying to break into data science. Like I had a whole spreadsheet of all the jobs I applied to. It was like 300 jobs, and like I think it was like, I can't remember the number, it was like 12 messaged me back. I got like 5 interviews and I got like 2 offers. So it was pretty depressing senior year doing that for my last semester. But I think the biggest thing that helped me was like being very specific, like I said, in the types of jobs I was going after, and like, during interviews, like just having that mission of like, this is what I want to do, and being very clear of like why you wanted to work there.
Hmm. No, definitely. And I know that that's something that is just pound for pound is just discouraging and tough to deal with. So going through that process, like you said, you applied to 300 jobs to hear back from 12 or so, to
Yes.
get 5 interviews, to get two. It's just like,
Yeah.
doing all of this work for. And the thing to remember, I think, is so important too. And this is Bob, who's in the Career Connections office. He said this
Mhm.
when I first started back here, and this is one of the best piece of advice I've heard. Is like, you only need one job.
Exactly.
And in that whole process, it can be so overwhelming, because you're like, oh my God, like I'm applying to 300. I'm trying to get all 300 to talk back to, like,
Yeah.
but it's like at the end of the day, you just need one. So what was that kind of like, going into a little more detail about that process, because embracing that discouragement, how'd you kind of deal with that to help keep yourself going? Was there anything that you thought about or went back to?
get used to deny or not deny. What is it? Get used to being told no, or like get used to reading the words like unfortunately
Yeah.
or the position has been filled. So just like those little things you kind of like laugh at. But honestly, yeah, just being dealing with being turned down is like super important, and also like not. I would find myself. I would see a position. It's like, oh, this is perfect. This is exactly what I need. I'd be like the perfect person for this, and then I would get like emotionally attached to it,
Mm.
and then I wouldn't even get like an email back. So just not like you hear people saying, "Oh, tailor your resume to every job." But if it takes more than 10 minutes, I wouldn't do it unless like you really know, because a lot of times you're probably not going to hear back, unless it's like a smaller company. So just like being mindful of like not putting in too much work. That might be kind of counterproductive of what the Career Connection says, but
Kind of
like,
trying to be like more efficient with your work, and
yeah, it's like you can rewrite your resume every time for a position, but like at the end of the day, they might be looking for someone with a different background than you. So I would say just being mindful of like not spending too long on one single application unless like you really feel like it's the right position for you. So that was one big thing.
so walk me through the whole process. So you're getting, the calls back from the people to sit down for the interview, and you're starting to kind of dwindle it down. What was it like from your position going through the interview? What were some things that you were looking for? Because I think that's a super important thing to touch on that doesn't get talked about a lot, is because when you go in for the interviews, it's not just them seeing if you're a good fit. You have to also see, as the person being interviewed, if you or if the company is a good fit for you as well. So it's that kind of
Yeah.
two-way street. What was that process like for you? What were you looking for in the companies?
Yeah, I would say my second round of doing when I looking for my second job, I think I was much more picky of like what I was looking for. But for my first one, I wasn't too picky. Like you just needed that one, and I just wanted that one. But looking back, I really was looking for a smaller company, not a smaller company, just a position on a smaller team, so I have a lot of opportunities to grow. Um, I didn't want to be put in a position of like, okay, here's what you do, and then you do it from 9 to 5. I wanted something that like I could kind of experiment in and like learn and grow a lot, and not just work in like Excel all day. So I really wanted a position that had a lot of autonomy and like responsibilities, and like was able to touch a lot like new technologies and stuff. So I was like kind of evaluating just like not like I interviewed like you think you see all these like the big companies like the Facebooks, the Googles and all that, and you're like, oh, that'd be so sweet. But then like you're just like another cog in the machine. They're like they're just like tens of thousands of employees there. But if you work on a team that's like 200, or a company with 200 people, your voice is going to be heard. You're going to be able to touch a lot more. So I think, especially early career, it's more valuable to work on a team that you can do more, and not just work for that cool company.
No, absolutely, absolutely. I think that again, that's such an important piece of it too. Is not forgetting, what's important to you, as well.
Mhm.
So no, I love that. So in your position now, let's look a little bit into the future. Where is it that David Gibson is trying to go, trying to climb to? What's in the future for him?
Yeah, so I would say I definitely want to still be working in data science. I'm still debating going back how soon I want to get into like the manager type roles, just because I know as soon as you do that, kind of move away from like boots on the grounds type work, and like really working through problems. So I'm kind of doing like a balancing act of like um, working with contractors, kind of like test the waters of being like a full-time manager. But I think in like 5 years, I definitely want to be managing a team at Stack Overflow or somewhere else for data science.
I love it. It's a continual process. And now, my friend, we have arrived at one of my favorite parts of the show, and it's a bittersweet moment because it's coming to an end. But this is cashing out, where you leave the people with your most valuable piece of advice, tip, lesson that you learned along the way to leave the folks at home with a little money for the road. So what do you have for us?
Mhm. I think two parts. One I already kind of hinted at was just being very deliberate in the positions you apply to. people, all interviewers really are very receptive when you know what you want. So when you go into interview, like, oh, I just want to get a job in finance, and you don't exactly know what you want to do. It's kind of like off-putting, I feel like. But if you know, like, I want to work in finance, I want to do this, this, and this, and this role is perfect because like X, Y, and Z. I think that's great, and it helps you stay on the track of what kind of jobs you want to apply to. The other piece is just because you're graduating, don't be afraid to ask for like a signing bonus or like higher salary. I think that like we're under a lot of pressure to be grateful of like, oh, this is your first job. But honestly, like if you get an offer, they already want you. It's not going to hurt to ask for a little bit more and just be responsible.
Absolutely. I love that. That's filling the wallet in all sorts of capacities there with some career
Yeah.
cash, some actual cash, set you off
Yeah.
the way. So, David, this was awesome, man. It was great kind of catching up, seeing a little bit, learning a little more about what you do. And, I appreciate you. So thanks so much.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And I would encourage anyone to check out the jobs on Stack Overflow. Right now, we don't have that many entry-level jobs, but we are growing very rapidly. We've got a lot of funding and actually are getting acquired later this year. So there's going to be a lot of open roles. So hopefully we expand our internship program. So feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions or want to take a look at their jobs.
I love it. I love it. I appreciate that. Hop on to people if that's the industry you're looking to get into. It's good stuff. I
Yeah,
appreciate you, David.
awesome. Thank you.